Hi all, I'm going to go ahead and complete the independent practice or a few of the problems on the independent practice from August 17th. So let's go ahead and get started with number 2. Now with this one here, we are using substitution. So these values that I've highlighted for A, B, and C are going to be important to us because we are going to substitute them in for the unknown values of A, C, and B. So let's get started with this. Let me switch out that pen color. So the first one, for number 2, I am going to have A cubed plus C squared minus 3b. I've taken out those unknown values and just filled them in with an open set of groupings or parentheses so that I can write those values in. Now I'm going to, for A, substitute in -4. For C, I'm going to substitute in -9. And for B, I will substitute in 6. Okay. Keeping in mind, on this first example, I'm going to walk through kind of the more expanded version of it, and then the other ones I will do some more mental math. But when we have -4 cubed, the cube is actually touching the parentheses. So what's actually being cubed is that grouping. Okay. So in each of those parentheses is going to be -4. Okay. So when we simplify that, negative times a negative times a negative is still a negative. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4, well, think about this. 16 times 2 is 32. Double that is 64, so that's -64. Okay. Same thing with the -9 squared. That's the same thing as adding. We're actually going to be squaring the parentheses, and in each one is -9 and -9. That simplifies to +81. Okay. For the last term that we have there, we've got -3 times 6 will give us -18. Okay. Now we can combine what we see here. We talk about PEMDAS, which is working left to right. It does not matter, though, ultimately, whether you choose to do -64 and 81 first, or if you would choose to do 81 and 18, or you could also choose to do -64 and -18. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going with left to right, though. So -64 plus 81, keeping in mind they're opposite signs, so that means we are going to subtract them. I'm going to take the sign of the larger value. So 81 is larger than 64, so I know that my solution for those two is going to be positive. Okay, and then we've just got to find the difference of 64 to 81, okay, which is going to give us 17. Bring down that -18. 17 minus 18, or combining negatives or +17, -18, my solution is -1, or my simplified value is -1. All right, so now let's go down to number 6, which is a fraction, our favorite, right? So let's go down to that one. Okay, doing that same process. So here I have 3 times B minus 4 times C. And that's going to be over 2 times B minus. Now, every time I take out an unknown value or a variable, I put in parentheses. So these parentheses that are currently here, I'm going to replace them with a bracket. Okay, so then I have C minus B and close up that grouping. Okay. Now I'm going to go back and just substitute in those values that they gave us. Everywhere there was a B, we're going to replace it with 6, and everywhere there's a C, I'm going to replace it with -9. So all the B's are going to be 6, and all the C's will be -9. Okay. However you choose to simplify this, whether it be from top working downward or working left to right, you decide. Okay, so I'm just saying I'm going to work out the numerator and the denominator at the same time, but individually, if that makes sense. So let's just simplify the numerator here. 3 times 6 is 18. Negative 4 times negative 9 gives me positive 36. Okay. Now I'm going to go simplify the denominator sum. Now in the denominator, there is this grouping here that I've got to simplify first. So I'm going to have, I'm going to leave this one here for just a second, which I know that many of you guys are already saying, well, I didn't just replace it. You can, okay? I'm just doing one step at a time here. So then I have negative, I still have a grouping. Okay, I'm just combining what's inside. Negative 9 minus 6, or negative 9 and negative 6 makes negative 15. Okay. All right, now for that numerator, 18 plus 36. That's going to give me 54. And in the denominator, I have 12. Negative and negative 15 is a positive 15. So I'm going to have 54 over 27, which my final solution or simplified version is 2. Okay. And I'm actually going to take that equal out of there because it's not equals 2, it's just 2. All right. Okay, so let's go down to number 14. All right, number 14, same thing. Everywhere there's an unknown value or variable, I'm going to replace it with parentheses. So I'm going to have n squared times r. Well, I just said I was going to replace that with parentheses. Times r minus w times t. Now in this one here, there's new values, new variables, just assumes. Everywhere there's an n, we're going to replace it with a 3. Where there was an r, I'm going to replace it with a negative 1. Where there was a w, I'm going to replace it with negative 1/2. And where there's a t, I'm going to replace it with 12. First thing, using our order of operations, let's do any groupings first. Well, there's nothing inside the groupings that we can simplify because when I look at it, 3, negative 1, negative 1/2, and 12 are as simplified as each of those groupings are going to get. Okay, so then next thing that I look for is I'm going to go back and look for, is there any exponents? Yes, 3 squared gives me 9 times negative 1, negative, I'm going to keep this for right now, negative 1/2 times 12. All right, now there's only multiplication in the very first half and only multiplication in the second half, no division. There is a subtraction in the middle, so we are still going to do that step as well. But let's go ahead and look for any multiplication left to right. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. I have that negative there. And negative 1/2 times 12, or what's half of 12? What a negative times a positive is a negative. Half of 12 is 6. Okay. Now remember that right here, this is actually a negative 1. It's just an understood value of 1, so we don't write that. So we have negative 9 plus 6. And my solution on this one is negative 3. Simplified answer. Okay. All right, next one on the back side of your worksheet, I'm going to go ahead and do number 15. Okay. Still evaluating that expression. So we've got a times b all over c plus d squared. Right? A is going to be 3/4. B is going to be -8. C is going to be -2. And D is going to be 3 squared. All right, so let's do the fraction in the numerator first, because I know that's where we would rather not have something. Well, if we were to turn that into a fraction as well by placing it over 1, let's just simplify that. What is 3 times -8? Well, that's -24. And -24 divided by 4 will give us -6. So our numerator on that one is -6 divided by -2. Plus 3 squared, which is 9. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so we've got 3 plus 9. And that simplifies to 12. Okay. All right, and that is it for this video, and I will see you all on the next one.